In Cairo, Palestinian factions agreed to fully implement the Gaza ceasefire, lift the blockade, hand interim administration to an independent technocrat committee under Egyptian, Qatari and Turkish mediation. Their final communique backs reconstruction, international monitoring and the withdrawal of the Israeli occupation forces. Implementation now hinges on Israeli decisions over withdrawal lines and crossings, issues being negotiated with mediators as both sides face pressure to turn commitments into concrete steps. Join our special coverage on Qnews, where we tackle the latest developments around the world.
كل الشكر لمصر العظيمة، مصر الشعب المصري العظيم الذي نحبه من أعماق قلوبنا نحن كفلسطينيين.
تقدير الكبير لدور مصر في منع أخطر مؤامرة كانت تجري، وهي التطهير العرقي والتهجير للشعب الفلسطيني.
موقف مصر الذي منع التهجير، موقف مصر الذي ساند القضية على مدار عشرات السنوات الماضية.
بات من الضروري والملح الآن التحرك وطنيا وفلسطينيا وبدعم من الشقيقة مصر من أجل بلسمة جراح شعبنا.
لا يفوتني في هذه اللحظة أن أشكر إخواننا في مصر على الجهود الكبيرة التي بذلت.
ما كنا نسعى إليه على امتداد الشهور الماضية بمساهمة نشطة من قبل إخوتنا في جمهورية مصر العربية كان يهدف إلى إقرار وإحلال وقف إطلاق النار.
طالما احتضنت القاهرة اللقاءات الوطنية بشكل دائم.
During their meeting in Cairo, the Palestinian factions have agreed to fully implement the Gaza ceasefire and lift the blockade entirely, pledging to transfer administration to an independent technocrat committee and to coordinate next steps with mediators with Egyptian, Qatari and Turkish mediation. The factions endorsed the second phase of President Trump's plan, committing to full ceasefire compliance and the complete lifting of the Gaza blockade. Their final communique backs reconstruction, the withdrawal of Israeli forces, and an international monitoring and funding mechanism to oversee delivery and projects. The groups pledged national unity under the Palestinian Liberation Organization and condemned Israeli annexation moves in the West Bank. They further expressed appreciation for Egypt's pivotal role in President Fattah al-Sisi's support, saying coordination with partners will continue to translate commitments into timelines and implementation. The Fatah movement has affirmed that the statements issued by several Palestinian factions yesterday underscore that the true guarantor of any unified Palestinian vision is the Palestinian Liberation Organization and the State of Palestine. The movement stressed that unilateral policies or attempts to bypass national legitimacy will not succeed. Fatah emphasized the need to establish a professional administration committee composed of qualified experts to manage Gaza's affairs temporarily under the authority of the Palestinian government. It reiterated that security in Gaza is the responsibility of official Palestinian security forces and any international presence should remain at the borders. The movement also called for a unified authority, weapon and law under a national framework. Secretary General of the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine, General Command Talal Naji, has commanded Egypt's coordination with Qatar in reaching a comprehensive agreement to end the war in Gaza. Nagy said Gaza endured the relentless killings and destruction over the past 2 years, leaving thousands dead or missing. He praised Egypt's tireless diplomatic efforts and leadership of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, stressing that his historic wall was instrumental in defending the Palestinian cause and halting the bloodshed in Gaza. Secretary General of the Palestinian National Initiative, Mustafa Barghouti, has praised Egypt's decisive role in thwarting what he described as the most dangerous attempt of ethnic cleansing and displacement of Palestinians from Gaza. Barghouti said the ceasefire would not have been achieved without Egypt's firm stance and praised Egyptian-Qatari mediation for securing a breakthrough to end the war. He emphasized the importance of preventing renewed hostilities and creating conditions for Gaza's reconstruction, adding that Palestinian unity is vital to confront settlement expansion and ongoing occupation. Senior member of the Palestinian Democratic Reform Current, Samir al-Mashharawi, has praised Egypt for preventing the displacement of Palestinians and for its long-lasting support of their cause. Al-Mashharawi said the Sharm el-Sheikh agreement successfully halted the genocide in Gaza and laid the foundation for lasting peace. He added that the ongoing Palestinian faction talks in Cairo focus on 3 main pillars: preventing a return to war, launching Gaza's reconstruction, and advancing President Trump's peace plan, describing the discussions as constructive and internationally backed. And for further analysis, we're joined from Cairo by the specialist in the Palestinian-Israeli affairs, Ibrahim El-Darawi. Welcome to Qnews, sir, and it's a pleasure to have you with us in today's very special coverage. Sir, what are the main obstacles to turning the Cairo commitments into actions now? Israeli withdrawal lines, lifting the blockade, and reopening crossings, and where can Egypt apply decisive leverage? Sir, what are the main obstacles to turning the Cairo commitments into actions now? Israeli withdrawal lines, lifting the blockade, and reopening crossings, and where can Egypt apply decisive leverage?
يا أهلا وسهلا بحضرتك وبالسادة المشاهدين. أنا أعتقد
I think that what is happening now, especially the momentum in Cairo towards Palestinian cause, I think it's a crowning of what Egypt has been doing since the 7th of October. I think that amidst the bilateral meetings between the Cairo Egyptian intelligence and the Palestinian factions and the PA who were here, I think all of this shows that there are attempts to ensure further meetings of all the Palestinian factions. I think that we are at a level Cairo was trying to reach in the beginning, which means stopping the bloodshed and provide aid. And even though they are insufficient till now, the aid are still limited, but I think that this was kind of alleviating the situation, and this allowed the world to view and to understand the Egyptian view. And now the American administration try to make the implementation of ceasefire work and to form an independent committee that might be a way to consolidate the PA, and they should work together, as the Israeli doesn't want the PA and what Cairo and Arab countries are doing to work, which is to make the PA part of Gaza. There should be a Palestinian consolidation and an agreement in order to alleviate the situation and to overcome the situation. Netanyahu doesn't want this unity, which means that the Palestinians should unify. There are 7 factions, and of course there should be unity between Fatah and Fatah. Fatah, led by Mohammed Dahlan, was a part of Gaza after the 7th of October, and if we're speaking about the PA, it's important, so no one should talk about not including the PA and Fatah. So all the parties should take a step back and move forward towards a comprehensive deal, which I think that Egypt might help complete. What happened in the past, that parties weren't agreeing, and or a party doesn't agree to a certain terms, both Fatah and Hamas are responsible for the Palestinians and responsible in the front of Egypt and all the parties. So both Fatah and Hamas should take into consideration the Palestinians' side. If they didn't unite, I think Israel is the only one who will benefit from what's happening in Gaza. So there should be a unity. The Palestinian president was a part of Sharm el-Sheikh summit. This shows that there should be a unity among the Palestinians, and there is a unity between Palestine and Egypt and the Arab world. And there should be a one definitive decision when we are now talking about.
Sir, I'll leave it there, and I got your point. How should the independent technocrat committee be structured so it gains broad factional buy-in, fits under the Palestinian Liberation Organization, and avoids becoming a rival authority? How should the independent technocrat committee, sir, be structured so it gains broad factional buy-in, fits under the Palestinian Liberation Organization, and avoids becoming a rival authority? That was Ibrahim Darawi from Cairo. Sorry to end this interview. We have a technical problem, and we are really sorry. The specialist in the Palestinian-Israeli affair, thank you very much for joining us on Qnews. Furthermore, Deputy Secretary General of the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine, Jamil Mizher, has praised Egypt's historic and pivotal role in supporting the Palestinian cause. Mizher said the ongoing dialogue among Palestinian factions seek to prevent renewed aggression against Gaza and sustain the ceasefire. He condemned the mass killings and displacement endured by Palestinians, urging unity to rebuild the national political system. Mazhar emphasized Egypt's leadership in halting Israeli attacks and guiding Gaza's reconstruction, stressing full commitment to implementing the Gaza Agreement.
ومنع التهجير وأيضا
And for further analysis, we're joined from Ramallah by the spokesperson of the Palestinian National Liberation Movement, Fath Ahmed Fattouh. A very warm welcome to Qnews, sir. Sir, after the Cairo meeting, what diplomatic steps can turn the pledge to lift the blockade and withdraw Israeli forces into a dated, enforceable timeline?
Thank you for having me. It's my pleasure to be with you today. The pleasure is mine. Now, it needs a lot of commitment from the international community, from the United States, to pressure Israel. Now, Israel is putting some ridiculous claims that they need all the dead bodies of the prisoners, but we all know that Gaza is decimated, is completely destroyed, and that requires time and a lot of effort in order to find them and reach them. But we see that Hamas is sending dead bodies, almost every day. So there is a process that's going on. So Israel need to abide by this international agreement, need to abide by the principles of peace, and need to stop its attacks and the blockade over Gaza. So I believe the guarantors, the United States, Trump, need to exert further pressure and to find a reasonable way out of this and to go into phase 2 of this agreement.
Sir, how will the pledge transfer to an independent technocratic committee work in practice, and under whose authority will it operate within the Palestinian Liberation Organization and the Palestinian government, sir?
Of course, it needs to be under the umbrella of the Palestinian Authority, the Palestinian Legitimate Authority. That in essence, is a national pillar to face and confront the Israeli agenda that want to divide Palestine, that want to marginalize the Palestinian state. When we fail to bring the Palestinian Authority back to Gaza, we are actually serving the occupation by accepting the annexation or the undermining of the Palestinian state, which all the partners, all the international community, the Arabs are actually working for, but any other proposition would be undermining to these efforts. So this international committee, committee by independence, it's not an independent committee, it's a committee with independence, meaning they are not affiliated to any political party, but rather a technocrats, must be under the umbrella of the PLO and the Palestinian Authority. Yes, and therefore we have to work into that stream and that direction. Yesterday's statement was an improvement that says that they recognize that the unity under the PLO is important to go for the Palestinian agenda and to work with the international community. But they failed to mention that this committee must be under the Palestinian Authority, and that should be unequivocal and unambiguous, that this committee is assigned by the government, is under the government, cooperating with the international community, cooperating with the Arabs, and I believe that is the demand of Egypt and Saudi Arabia and many Arab countries, as well as the Europeans. Probably only Israel and maybe the Americans are still not there yet. So we have to push toward that direction. It's important here to say that we want to end any form of division or any schemes that wish to undermine the Palestinian state. Israel has used that division since Hamas coup in 2007. Israel used that coup against the Palestinian cause. They say that we could not make the two-state solution as long as there is Hamas in Gaza. And now
and this is their narrative now, sir, as well.
Unfortunately, and we call on Hamas. Listen, we have to be wise here. This is not a matter of faction. This is not a matter of political party. This is a matter of Palestine. And when it comes to Palestine, we are all martyrs for this case. We are all dispensable for this case. So Hamas need now to submit the authority toward the Palestinian Authority in order to remove all pretext from Netanyahu's hands. And when we talk about the weapons, we are saying to Hamas, we want one government, one law, one Palestinian forces to govern all over Palestine. This would remove all pretext from the far Zionist factions who want to occupy all of Palestine. And when it comes to weapons, they submit their weapons to the Palestinian Authority. Or I believe there was a proposition by Egypt that they could submit that weapons to an Egyptian committee, and they could freeze it for a period of time until we reach the state. So there is a solution for that. We can't give Israel the green light by saying we don't want to give our weapons. There is even more important things right now, and which is the Palestinian sovereignty and the Palestinian statehood. When we do that, we are solidifying our cause, we are solidifying our liberation struggle. And let's be truthful, if these weapons was strong enough to stop the occupation, we wouldn't have to discuss this today. I believe we have to be wise to unite under the PLO and within the Arab community. And I have to remind the Hamas and the Palestinian faction that the Arab League has approved the Arab plan, which stated that the Palestinian Committee of Independent Technocrats would be under the umbrella of Palestinian Authority, which was later adopted by the Organization of Islamic Cooperation and then adopted by the Europeans and most of the world in the New York summit. So we have this stream flooding in support for the Palestinian state. We have this strong momentum. Let's not cripple it.
So you don't need all this. It's your right. It's your country. It's your sovereignty. Of course, this adds value and it's added value, but nobody needs anybody to rule his country.
Of course, we refuse any form of custodianship or guardianship or any colonialism from foreign entity. We rule ourselves under the PLO, the legitimate authority. The seat in the United Nations is there because of the PLO. So we have to preserve our institutions. We have to preserve where we have reached now of this improvement with the international community through our 77 years of struggle culminated to this point that we have to continue from here, not to allow any alternatives or accept any foreign governance upon our land. We accept international forces on the basis that they will be on the borders of Gaza to preserve peace, but not to be the security forces on the Palestinian land. The security forces belong to the Palestinian security of the Palestinian Authority, which many of them are trained in Egypt. There are about 5,000 have been trained recently, and they are ready to go there to preserve peace, not by the mentality of a faction, but the mentality of a government that sees all people and all citizens of Palestine as equal despite whatever their race or religion or ideology. And that is the way that we could move forward to confront the Israeli scheme to undermine the Palestinian Authority. And what you see in the West Bank, from confiscating the Palestinian tax money, from the settlers' terrorism, all that comes to undermine the Palestinian Authority. So Palestinian factions has to unite under that authority. Together, we can confront Israel with all power and solid against all schemes.
Sir, what is Fatah's plan for security in Gaza? Who leads? How are forces unified? And how do you prevent parallel chains of command? I know, sir, that you gave us in your previous answer part of the answer, but I want it to be more elaborated.
We have already a structure of security. We already have, by the way, many security personnel and employees within the Palestinian Authority in Gaza. But unfortunately, because of Hamas coup, because of Hamas, limitation and oppression and oppressing to those parties, they are not working. But they are still in contact with the Palestinian Authority, and they are ready to take responsibility immediately as soon as Hamas stepped down from power and calls upon the Palestinian Authority that we are here, we want you to rule us. And as I told you, there are 5,000 Palestinian military personnel who have been trained in Egypt, and we already have a cooperation with Egypt. Many of our security forces are trained there, as well as in Jordan and in other countries around the world. So we have the experience, we have the capabilities, we have the manpower. It just needs to be implemented on the ground. But that's also dependent on the Israeli limitation, because now Israel, of course, put a veto on the authority. That should be resolved now, because we have to go to phase 2, where phase 2 would put solution to these issues that we are talking about right now. Therefore, we hope that the pressure from the Arab world will reach out. Now, I have to warn that Israel is trying all space not to go to phase 2 and to perpetuate this occupation and this division and to keep Gaza stateless or governless. We have to be wise here and be smart, that we confront this and to work with the Palestinian Authority together as a whole. Then until we go to election, when the temporary committee finish its job, we go to elections, general elections.
How long, sir, do you imagine it's going to take you to get into elections? Time.
The president issued a decree saying we will do it within 1 year.
1 year.
1 year after the end of war. So we are ready to do it. We are ready to do it right now. But as you know, there's a lot of massive destruction. Gaza is devastated after the genocide of the Israeli occupation and the mass killing that happened at the hands of those terrorist forces of the Israeli army. So we have to wait until Gaza recover and heal again, and the people would be capable to go to election polls and to elect.
Okay, sir, if Israeli annexation moves in the West Bank return, what coordinated diplomatic response will Fatah seek with Arab and European partners without derailing the Gaza track?
Sorry, I didn't hear the question quite correctly. The annexation of the West Bank?
If Israeli annexation moves in the West Bank return, Israel and Benjamin Netanyahu, and what he always does, he comes back anywhere, he says he's leaving. If it returns, the annexation, what coordinated diplomatic response will Fatah seek with Arab and European partners without derailing the Gaza track, sir?
I believe there will be no annexation. This is a dream by the Zionist movement and will never be truthful. Although on the ground they are terrorizing us, confiscating land, stealing land, building settlements, but I will tell you that Palestinian steadfastness will be there and forever will be there to stop these colonialist plans. Also, the United States position yesterday was pretty strong.
Yes, sir, it was very strong, and it was a very strong backlash in the face of Israel and Benjamin Netanyahu.
Exactly. And the Arab world was very strong as well. They have said clearly that they refuse any form of annexation. Saudi Arabia said that if there will be any future talk about normalization plans, it has to be on the basis that there is an independent Palestinian state on the 1967 borders. Thus, they refuse any sort of annexation. Also, UAE, United Arab Emirates, also stated that if Israel go after that, this deal that they signed in 2020 will be void. So there's an international momentum here, international consensus against the Israeli annexation plans. But we also warn that they are doing it silently or gradually, not silently actually, they're doing it vulgarly in their terrorism and violence. The world need to take actual action by sanctioning those terrorist groups in the West Bank that are terrorizing our people every day and now, and also to sanction those companies that build these settlements. So there is a process that we are going to seek, of course, the international community, our partners, the International Criminal Court, the International Court of Justice, and our daily peaceful resistance against this, racist colonial regime that is eating our land every day.
That was Ahmed Fattouh from Ramallah, the spokesperson of the Palestinian National Liberation Movement, Fatah. Thank you very much for joining us on Q News and for your very informative knowledge and for your analysis, sir. I couldn't thank you better. I couldn't thank you more, sir, for your time. And as tonight's coverage closes, the Cairo track leaves a narrow but real window. Palestinian factions pledge unity, a technocrat interim administration, and full ceasefire implementation, while Egypt and partners press for verification, clear timelines, and reopened crossings, as well as decisions on withdrawal lines and access will determine whether diplomacy hardens into progress or slips back into confrontation. We'll keep tracking the commitments, the guarantees, and the reality on the ground. This brings us to the end of today's special coverage for tonight. Don't forget to follow us on Q News on YouTube, Facebook, X, Instagram, and TikTok at QNewsEG to stay informed. Thank you very much for watching and stay tuned for more updates and Q News minute-by-minute coverage.